Hey lovelies, I'm back with another video. We're going to be making a Jamaican flag tutu dress. Now the quality may be off in this video because I'm recording on my phone. So I started out by sketching up a few ideas just to see what she may want from what we've been talking about, and then I'll point out what exactly I drew and what it would be, and she ended up going with this one. So I took her daughter's measurements and then I went to my local Joann's to see what fabric she may want, and she ended up going with these items here. We're gonna go ahead and get started, and I am going to set you guys up so we can get started. I'm gonna start cutting the dress. So all the actual fabric I bought is stretchy, so I'm showing you the salvage don't stretch, but of course the grain stretches. So we're gonna fold the fabric where it stretches, and that way it can stretch across the body. So usually I make a pattern, but this dress is so simple that I just drafted it out on the actual fabric, and she's around she's around my measurements, so it was quite like a run-through type of experience. So I started off by just giving myself guidelines, and I'm gonna go ahead and make sure everything is even and stuff like that, and the fabric is on fold like I previously said. Right here I was marking out seam allowance. With stretchy fabric you don't necessarily need seam allowance at all, depending on the stretch of your fabric. So at the top that would be above her bust line, and I just marked out the waist, and I'm going to mark out the hips, and then I'm going to do her around measurements, but 1/4 of it. So I marked out 1/4 of the top above her bust, and then I marked out 1/4 of her waist, and I marked out 1/4 of her hips, and then the bottom line was basically how long I wanted the dress with seam allowance. So I went ahead and cut that out, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the back. The back is the same as the front. So once you cut that out, if you're making this along with me, you're gonna go ahead, you could leave the seam allowance depending on your fabric, but for my fabric I realized I didn't need that seam allowance. So now we're cutting out the ruffles. I didn't know how much I would need, so I just cut out a long strip, as you can see the measurements here. And then once I figured out how much I needed, which I cut out, her above bust was 33. Okay, so basically her all around bust measurement is 33. So when I took the measurements of her bust, above her bust, I put my tape measure from the front and wrapped it around her body, and it gave me 33 around her bust area. So when I cut these strips, I'm gonna cut 33 inches. 33 inches for the front and 33 inches for the back. Okay, that's gonna give me a long strip because her all around bust measurements is 33, but I'm using 33 inches for the front and the back. I hope y'all get it. Now you see I cut out my strips and I have my dress, so we're gonna get into actually putting everything together. So I'm gonna start with the strips, which is gonna be her ruffles. You see I marked out 1 inch as my seam allowance, and these are my serger settings, and I primarily use a serger to sew the seams together and the sewing machine to hem whatever needs to be hemmed, which is the bottom, and like this piece, the bottom of the ruffle. So I'm ironing up the ruffle just where the serger, like, you know, seam line is, and then I did that for both strips. And for the bottom I'm going to use a twin needle at the bottom of the hem, and for the top of it I used a gathering stitch. It's a long basting stitch. So I take one of the threads, you're going to have two, I take one of them and I pull it from each side to gather the fabric. Do not pull both threads, just one. So now I'm going to go ahead and serge the bottom of the dress as well, both pieces, and we're going to go ahead and iron that up. So I'm marking out a 1 inch seam allowance, so when I go to iron I can fold it up to that 1 inch seam allowance that I just marked out. Now, unlike I did with the ruffles, I'm just gonna iron this and then go ahead and start pinning it together, right sides facing. The right side of your fabric is the good side of your fabric that you want everybody to see. So I went ahead and placed my fabric right side, and you notice I unfolded where I ironed. I unfolded that. We just ironed that, so that's like our guideline for when we're ready to hem, but I unfolded it so I can make a seam going all the way down, straight down. Do not make that seam while it's still folded up from your iron marks. Don't do that. Anyway, I went ahead and placed my gathered ruffles along the top of the dress just to make sure that it all fits nicely, and then I pinned the sides of them together, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew that. So as you see, only the sides are sewn. Now I'm going to lower the back just so I can know from the front and the back. I went ahead and lowered the back some. I'm gonna go ahead and pin the ruffles to the dress. So the dress is already touching where the seam allowance is. So the front is folded and the back is folded, and the seam allowance is in the middle. So the side seams are in the middle, the front is on the side, and the back is on the side. The side seams is in the middle, looking at me. So I marked out where the straps is going to be from the front and from the back. And like I said, the seam allowance where the side seam allowance is in the middle right now. So the way I folded the fabric is the front is folded in half, the seam allowance is in the middle, the back is folded in half. So the way I'm placing this fabric is the wrong side of the dress is facing up at me. The wrong side of the ribbon is facing the dress. The ruffles is right side facing all of it. So, and make sure your ribbon is facing the bottom of the dress and not hanging out towards the top of the dress, because you will just serge or sew that and it's not going to lay right. So you see how my ribbon is laying down towards the bottom of the dress. You don't see anything sticking out the top. And I went ahead and added my elastic to the seam allowance with my serger so it could fit snug around the top of her bust. And I started working on a tutu. So I needed 18 inches and my cutting board was 18 inches. So that was perfect. I started wrapping the tulle around the board and I cut it on both sides. Once I wrapped the whole full thing around the cutting board, I cut it and it gave me 18 inches. And this is, imagine that ribbon was my elastic, and this is how I applied the tulle to the elastic. And you could apply it this way, however you would like your knot to sit is the way you would apply it, and I applied it the first way. So I'm showing you how the knots look a little different, slightly different. And me just re-showing you how I actually like applied it to the elastic, and this was the method I did. So you continue to do the same method until you pack up the elastic with tulle all the way around, and of course your elastic should have been sewn together by now. And this is how the tutu looked once I was finished. I put my label in there so she knows the front from the back. Once you hem everything, it's done. And to hem it, you could use a zigzag stitch, a light and bow stitch, or a twin needle like I did. So I'm just showing you what it looked like with the twin needle on the bottom of the ruffle and on the bottom of the dress. And it could be a two-piece set. You could wear the dress by itself, it still has the Jamaican colors, or you could wear it with the tulle. And this is how it came out. She looks so cute. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Later, lovelies.